Bullying is never cool, but it's a different kind of joy when they choose the wrong target. On that note, these are the top 25 moments when they bullied the wrong person in films and TV. Let's kick things off with a new entrant. Weak Hero is a pretty impressive show, proving the dominance of K-dramas all over the world. Especially when they can do rooftop antics so right. Seong-jae really is a grade A delinquent as he beats down on Gotak, but then Si-eun arrives and everything gets better. By that, I mean we get to witness a great fight where the bully realizes he shouldn't have messed around so much. What I like is how this fight really displayed how well Si-eun can work with lesser experience. He was still getting worked the whole time and didn't dominate, but his ingenuity saved him. Meanwhile, Seong-jae isn't only stronger, but also an absolute maniac who just couldn't be mentally shaken. Most people were intimidated by Si-eun's crazy ice there, but this guy just didn't care because he's a psycho too. Yeah, it's really cool writing choice to balance the fight in such an unusual way.
You gonna stab me with this?
Oh, cool. Well, that's hardly fair.
Life's not fair.
Oh, I just slapped you. Are you alright?
What?
Look who drops in at number 24. By movie logic, it's fair to say that one should never bully the main character, but hey, as long as we have badass action, we're happy, aren't we? When Elwood Dalton starts working as a bouncer at this bar, the rowdy troublemakers totally underestimate what he's capable of, so bullying others seems to be the best option to them. This fun fight scene really shows off what the guy can do when he's dealing with multiple opponents at once. These bikers harass the crowd, so Dalton decides to handle it himself. He mixes humor with a no-nonsense attitude and puts his UFC training to work. His quick, precise moves take down one guy after another, proving he still has that octagon fighter mindset. Gyllenhaal absolutely nails the action hero role here, making every slap and punch feel real and impactful. Dalton was ready to call it even, but there's no question he's the one who won that fight.
Man. I'm gonna kill you!
I just want to make the world a better place.
Up next is Mindy exacting some disgusting revenge. The ladies can be ruthless when it comes to bullying, but our very own hit girl has her own ideas on how to pay back the favor. The 6-stick scene is one of the most absurd sequences you'll ever see in a movie, but I say the girls had it coming. These fake bullies like to act as if they're pristine, but what happens is a perfect reflection of what they really are inside, ugly and disgusting. Yeah, I'm sure Mindy was thankful for listening to her friend Robin, because this just feels so satisfying to watch. The public humiliation works quite well because mental defeat hits a lot harder than any punch or kick ever could. Having said that, I really do feel bad for the main victim of this whole sequence. That's right, I'm talking about the janitor who'll need to clean up the whole mess without anyone giving any acknowledgement for it. Such is life, eh?
Because we feel fabulous. Not for long.
Oh, next time you see Richard, walk the other way.
Number 22 hardly makes you think of the villains as bullies. As a matter of fact, they look more like absolute wussies in front of Jack Reacher.
I'm Richard's friend. So if you're smart, you'll get out of here before I hurt you.
Brats like these never really get the message until they're publicly embarrassed by someone who's literally 3 times stronger than their whole crew combined. Richard's entire journey in the streets is about him being a pushover his whole life, so watching him get picked on wasn't shocking at all. What was totally ridiculous was these bullies actually believing they stood a chance against someone as massive as Alan Richardson. You can see that Reacher feels protective of Richard because he could have simply told those idiots to buzz off. Instead, he decides to destroy their leader with some seriously brutal insults. This wasn't even some witty word display situation like Kendrick Lamar would do. He literally just flat out said the dude was dumb and hideous. Then again, Reacher doesn't exactly need to stress about anyone's hurt feelings. Like we've seen throughout the series, this is a total tank of a man who's even managed to take down another massive dude who had nearly a foot of height on him. This may have been a forgettable movie, but it did have an impressive final battle. After all, I'm a sucker for moments when you beat your bully in front of a live audience. Lee vs. Connor was a great sequence as it mirrored the original Karate Kid nicely.
Spinning hook kick to the face. Ooh.
It's a phenomenal display of honourable fighting, at least from Lee's side, because that dragon kick was super badass. Connor even tries a sneak attack, but we all know how those things go, right? It was a total boss move to spare your opponent after such a dirty trick too.
Lee!
I will say that it's a bit cheesy how they tried to make this like an exact copy of the OG film's final sequence, but hey, we got a good fight out of it, so I'm not complaining. Also, huge shout out to the OG cast members for their cameos too, especially Johnny Lawrence.
Charlie!
This one's not a total win for Steve, but I guess he'll take it. After all, beating down a dude as strong as Billy was never feasible. Like, who the heck laughs like that after taking a punch? Anyway, Steve's kind of become like the laughing stock of Stranger Things after being the bad guy in the first season, so I hope he at least gets something going for him in the final act. Here he stands up to Billy and tries to protect the kids by fighting him. But it doesn't go as well as any of us thought it would have. Billy relentlessly beats him down, but then Max manages to even things out with an injection. It was more of a relief than anything else, but imagine telling somebody who hasn't seen the show about this scenario. I mean, Billy found his 13-year-old stepsister at a stranger's house with an older guy who lied to him about it. Yeah, this is why context is so important. Up next is yet another satisfying display. Here the bully gets owned in front of a live audience, which is turning out to be my favourite genre. Look, it's pretty strange seeing Zac Efron with his different look these days, but that's due to a jaw injury, so there's not really anything that could have been done about it. Anyway, he still has his original appearance in 17 again, so it made sense for me to bring it up here. There's just something about bringing a basketball into a bully encounter, isn't it? What really makes this sequence stand out is that Mike doesn't actually use any physical force against Stan, just pure verbal destruction. Honestly, with the things that he said in front of that whole crowd, Stan probably would have taken a punch to the face over that humiliation.
Underneath all of that male bravado, there's an insecure little girl just banging on the closet door trying to get out.
The man completely destroyed his son's bully in about 60 seconds flat, while also showing off some slick basketball skills at the same time. One thing that really doesn't make sense to me is how Maggie not only went out with Stan, but was totally cool with him bullying her own brother Alex.
All too well. You're the man. Captain of the basketball team. Dates the pretty girls. High school is your kingdom.
Now I'll count to 3. Do you know who you're talking to? 1, 2.
It should be common knowledge by now when it comes to Jack Reacher. Don't bully his asset. Paul may have seemed like an easy target, but he's the wrong choice because of who's watching over him. I'm not even talking about how Reacher dropped that otherwise intimidating looking prisoner in literally 5 seconds. Although I do have to commend the man for being able to pull off such a deadly move before we could even finish taking a sip of our cola. What really gets me is what he says right before the fight goes down. Usually you wouldn't expect to hear that kind of raw trash talk in a show that came out in 2022, but Reacher isn't worried about being politically correct. And honestly, that's probably why the show connected with so many viewers. Listen, I'm not trying to be mean here, but that prisoner absolutely had it coming. So yeah, this is basically where peak Sigma male energy was born.
Now get out of my cell.
Now we have the perfect gentleman. Never bully a dude with a guardian, especially if said guardian is Harry Hart. He's about as cool as action heroes come, and that whole manners maketh man moment where he deals with Eggsy's bullies is absolutely brilliant. The way he transitions from polite gentleman to full-on combat warrior and then right back to being polite again in roughly 3 minutes was just mind-blowing. Even Eggsy stood there completely amazed watching Colin Firth work his magic. And like Harry points out at the beginning, it genuinely was considerate of him to stay so polite during the entire encounter. The guy literally says, "Excuse me," while going to lock the entrance before proceeding to wreck those brats. If I had to pick one standout moment, it's definitely when Harry whips out that insanely cool shield after one of them pulls out a firearm. This kid shows up with a gun to take on an umbrella-wielding spy and got absolutely demolished. Up next is when the teacher gets owned. Through her telekinetic abilities, Matilda Wormwood actually manages to terrify Miss Agatha Trunchbull. The main character and her fellow students have endured such horrible treatment from the principal that this moment feels long overdue. Wormwood frightens Trunchbull by scribbling a message across the chalkboard, then launches erasers at the villain. It's a powerful scene that shows exactly why this antagonist doesn't deserve sympathy. The villain attempts to retaliate, but ends up getting pelted with food before being driven out of the school entirely. Yeah, now that's what I'm talking about. This is for all of us who've had to face villainous teachers in school.
Finish it.
In at number 15 is the standout bully encounter from Cobra Kai. Hawk had a lot to deal with back when he was a nerd, but now he's not the type to go easy on anyone. He's obviously a totally different person now that he's learned the ancient discipline of beating people up, and he makes absolutely sure Brooks knows it. The fight itself is pretty brief since Hawk takes Brooks down without breaking a sweat, but the real point here is how completely relentless he is with his attacks. His opponent is clearly finished and out cold, but he just keeps going until he's finally released all that bottled up anger from getting bullied as a kid. That spit to the face was just pure disrespect, and honestly, I don't think Brooks will ever recover from it. Just look at the guy's expression. He looks like he could be featured in a true crime documentary. What's really interesting is his sensei doesn't intervene and actually seems entertained when Hawk finishes his beatdown. It's almost like he's actively pushing Hawk to turn into the exact same thing he despised his entire life. Never knew a mohawk could make that much of a difference.
I don't like bullies.
Hey look, only Dwayne Johnson gets to bully Kevin Hart, as we see here in Central Intelligence.
I got that. All right, well, before this whole thing goes down, you should know one thing about me.
What's that?
I guess the scene is even more effective considering Robbie was bullied by Trevor back when he was in school. Obviously Robbie's different now, but I won't consider his vengeance against Trevor for this scene because it's just so much more badass when you can rescue your own buddy from something you used to experience back in the day. It happens so quickly too. Yeah, that man really does like bullies, doesn't he? I guess this makes up for all the times he's violated Kevin Hart in real life.
Let's go, Jet.
बहुत हुआ।
Up next is serving justice the right way. If you really like hard-hitting K-dramas, then watch Who Are You School. Yeah, the name may be a bit confusing, but the show is pretty good. As far as bullies are concerned, this encounter between Go Eun-Buell and Kang So-young was quite memorable. Go Eun-Buell overcame a sense of her own identity and managed to hit back at Kang So-young, especially regarding her sister. It's a powerful moment that highlights the effects of bullying, and I loved how Eun-Buell decided not to punish violence with violence. Kicking off my top 10 is Barry getting it done supersonic style. Taking on Gerda was an important moment for him because he's the perfect example of once a bully, always a bully. The fight may have been brief, but that supersonic punch was way too cool to be on television. Of course, this is back when TV wasn't looked at as the dominant force in media, but my point is that the Flash managed to use his powers for good and showed his bully why he's not going to mess around with him anymore. Please make Grant Gustin the next Flash in the DC universe, James Gunn. You know he's the right choice.
I've known guys like you. Peaked in high school, never got over it. All these powers, and look at you. Bully then, bully now.
Okay, you mother. Get over there!
Up next is a scene that's gaining a lot of popularity on the TV region. Honestly, we should have seen this coming. It's literally in the movie's name. It's rare to find a David Cronenberg movie that isn't bizarre or packed with body horror, but when they're as solid as a history of violence, I'm not complaining. The main character is Tom Storr, but his son Jack really steals the show here. It's another classic situation where the victim snaps after a bully disrespects the girl he's with, and sure enough, the bully is yet another stereotypical blonde guy. Regardless, the beatdown that follows is incredibly satisfying to watch in the best way possible. It's kind of like getting an amazing haircut or having a great conversation with an attractive girl, or waking up and realizing it's a holiday so you don't need to head to work. Yeah, that's the kind of comparison I should be making. Also, I absolutely loved when he asked his bully if he was still laughing. That was genuinely badass.
Son of a Come here. Are you laughing? Are you laughing now, you cocksucking piece of shit?
Yeah.
Well, I got a number. How do you like them apples?
Now we learn why we gotta love them apples. Ever run into someone who's constantly trying to prove how intelligent they are? We definitely have, which is why watching one of those arrogant jerks get completely humiliated in Good Will Hunting is so satisfying. This ponytail-wearing tool is clearly trying to embarrass random people just to look good in front of the ladies, proving that showing off your intelligence is basically pointless. Then Will Hunting steps in, who's legitimately the brightest person in the vicinity, demonstrating that brain power beats physical strength any day, and Will quickly shuts this fool down without breaking a sweat. Side note, this is actually so relevant today. There's millions of people who are chronically online and just repeat what they read about without ever thinking on their own.
Some fucking brownies right now. Hey, wait, hold on. Skiing trip. I should have beat that little bitch's ass.
Over my dead body.
Yes,
I bet you have.
In at number 7, we learn that cinema bullies go back a long way. The Mos Eisley Cantina is packed with interesting individuals, though plenty of them aren't exactly welcoming. Luke Skywalker ends up confronting two sketchy characters who clearly mean trouble. Right when things look like they're about to escalate, a lightsaber flashes out and slices off the Aqualish mercenary's arm. That's when our man Obi-Wan Kenobi steps in for an iconic rescue. Dude's got zero tolerance for anyone harassing innocent people, leaving the attacker with a lasting reminder they won't soon forget. Everything unfolds so rapidly that only lightning-quick instincts can prevent disaster. Despite his age, Kenobi still has all his skills, doesn't he?
Malfoy, you okay?
Look who's next. After all the nonsense Draco Malfoy has pulled, he gets what he deserves. After being completely obnoxious for 2 whole films, someone finally loses it on him. Hermione catches sight of the Slytherin menace from a distance, bragging about his most recent shenanigans, and marches towards him with the intensity of a professional boxer. The one threat actually brings him to tears for once, but before the whole thing wraps up, our beloved Gryffindor doesn't cast a spell, she straight up punches Malfoy right in the face. But yeah, it's hard to feel sorry for someone who basically represents every awful bully from our childhood. Sure, not everyone's actual bullies from real life face consequences, but in this scene, Malfoy gets exactly what was coming to him in the most satisfying way possible.
Go! Quick! Go run! Not a word to anyone, understood?
That felt good.
Not good. Brilliant.
Oh yeah, this one's definitely worth a spot at number 5. The tables have indeed turned, as the bully no longer gets the loudest cheer. 3 o'clock high basically revolves around this one fight that takes place at, yeah, you guessed it, 3 o'clock. The fighters are a nerd named Jerry and a bully named Buddy. Yes, I'm aware how ironic it is for such an antagonist character to have that kind of name. What really shocks me is that Buddy literally punches the actual principal of the school too. This obviously makes the principal furious, and when you've got the authorities backing you up, you're usually poised towards a favourable result. That said, Jerry gets beaten up for most of the fight and is basically about to meet his maker when Buddy gets ready to clock him with brass knuckles. Thank goodness for young Bill Gates. I mean Vincent. Who distracts the bully just long enough for Jerry to channel his inner Saitama and finish the whole thing with one punch. The energy of this scene is absolutely perfect, with everyone, including the principal, cheering for Jerry to put Buddy in his place. It almost feels like we're watching a pair of gladiators battling it out. This next one hasn't been talked about enough, so here we are. Chairs can definitely be dangerous, but we won't mind if they're being used for the right cause. The real solution to handling a bully is usually confronting them head on, isn't it? When the school bully Terrell forces Chiron's closest friend Kevin to jump him, Chiron decides to fight back using a chair as his weapon of choice. He strolls into the classroom like he's on a mission, grabs a vacant chair, and cracks it over Terrell's skull, which may seem straightforward, but is darn well effective. What makes this moment stick with you is how totally unexpected it is. There's zero warning and no dramatic lead-up. It just happens out of nowhere.
Fuck off, you nigga!
Oh yeah, it's time for some vintage finesse. The bad guy in Back to the Future, Biff Tannen, basically fits the mold of your standard bully who probably learnt it from his equally terrible ancestors. He spends most of his time intimidating people and stealing homework from classmates, and honestly, the main thing that sets him apart initially is how weirdly enjoyable he is to watch. But then you see how Biff treats Lorraine Baines and it becomes crystal clear that this guy has no boundaries when it comes to getting his way.
Let him go! Let him go!
And then you've got the timid and anxious George McFly, who literally wouldn't harm an insect. By the end though, Marty's dad completely flips the script and drops Biff off with just one hit. For viewers like us, it doesn't get any more satisfying than that. It narrowly misses out on the top spot, but this scene does have #1 energy. The bullies can try to repent, but it's too late to come back from this one. Yeah, this is hands down the most violent payback against bullies ever put on film. The 1976 version of Carrie was a phenomenal movie that tackled multiple themes, but nothing comes close to that iconic prom night sequence where Carrie completely snaps and unleashes her abilities on everyone. And honestly, can you blame her after everything she went through? She faced constant torment from basically the entire school, dealt with her controlling mother at home, and watched her very first date die right in front of her as some sick joke. Sure, it's a bit of a stretch that Tommy actually died from an empty bucket falling on him, but whatever. It pushed the story along and gave us one of the most unforgettable horror sequences ever made. Seriously though, the way Carrie just stares everyone down is what makes this moment so terrifying and believable. Sissy Spacek absolutely crushed that role.
It's all yours, man.
#1 goes to the #1 Marvel superhero as per popularity polls. This is the scene that made our childhood because all of us could relate to it in some capacity or the other. After all, there's no way we could leave out such an iconic scene from such an iconic movie.
Think you're pretty funny, don't you, freak?
Tobey Maguire is always going to be the original Spider-Man for those of us who are lifelong fans, and this confrontation with Flash Thompson is definitely one of the big reasons I feel that way. The guy barely has to try it until he figures out he needs to actually throw a punch to wrap things up. One spider-powered hit later, and it's all over. Despite the awesomeness on display, I really must ask one more time, why the heck are those students angry at Peter Parker for simply protecting himself from someone who would have hurt him way worse if he wasn't dealing with Spider-Man's powers? I guess it was meant to say something about society or whatever, but at least Harry Osborn had his friends back, right? Hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to the TV Regent, and here's another video that I know you're going to enjoy.